Welcome, friend. Tonight, we're diving into the curious and calming world of ancient rituals, some bizarre and all deeply human. Each one is a soft whisper from the past, perfect for drifting off, too. So, close your eyes, get cozy, and let these forgotten customs gently guide you towards sleep. Let's start. 1. Dream incubation, ancient Egypt. In the sacred stillness of ancient Egypt, a unique and deeply spiritual ritual was practiced by those seeking healing, wisdom, or divine answers. Dream incubation. This was not ordinary sleep. It was sleep with sacred intention. The journey would begin with a visit to a holy temple, often one dedicated to the god Imhotep, revered as a healer and a bridge between the physical and divine worlds. Pilgrims would prepare themselves with ritual purification, bathing in cool, flowing water to cleanse the body and spirit. Afterward, they would offer incense, perhaps frankincense or myrrh, as soft prayers rose like mist into the air, wrapping the chamber in a tranquil, sacred fragrance. Once prepared, the dream seeker would be led to a designated incubation chamber, space shrouded in candlelight and soft silence. There, they would lie upon a sacred stone bed or a linen mat, or temple attendants might softly chant in the background, inviting the presence of divine beings. The belief was that in this sacred sleep, gods or ancestral spirits would visit through dreams, offering insights, prophecies, or healing remedies. The dreams were considered sacred messages, and upon awakening, the dreamer would share their visions with temple priests or scribes, who would interpret their meaning, sometimes writing them on scrolls to preserve their wisdom. Dream incubation reveals the deep reverence ancient Egyptians had for the unconscious mind. In their worldview, sleep was not passive, was a space where the soul wandered freely and the gods could speak. As you listen now, picture the warm glow of oil lamps, the quiet breath of incense on the air, and the cool touch of polished stone beneath your back. Let this ancient ritual cradle you as you fall deeper into your own sacred sleep, where dreams, like rivers, may carry you toward your inner truth. 2. Sky burial, Tibet, far above sea level. In the vast and silent expanses of the Tibetan plateau, there exists a sacred ritual that expresses a deeply philosophical and compassionate understanding of life and death, the sky burial. This unique ceremony, practiced for centuries by Tibetan Buddhists, does not involve burial beneath the earth or cremation through fire. Instead, it offers the body to the natural world, a final act of generosity to the creatures of the sky. This practice is known as jader, meaning giving alms to the birds. When a person passes away, the community comes together in reverence and peace. Monks chant sacred mantras, their voices low and melodic, guiding the soul gently through the transition into the next life. The deceased is carried to a remote, high-altitude location, often a quiet mountaintop. Here, in the thin air under an open sky, the body is respectfully prepared and offered to the vultures and other scavenging birds. These birds, seen not as symbols of death, but as sacred agents of transformation, are believed to free the soul from the confines of the physical body, carrying it swiftly to the heavens. Rather than viewing the body as something to preserve, the Tibetans see it as a temporary vessel, and offering it to nature, they complete the cycle of life and death, returning to the earth what came from it. This act is not one of sorrow, but of spiritual clarity, acceptance, and ultimate compassion. It is a ritual that reminds us all that we are part of something larger, something eternal. As you drift into sleep, imagine the cool winds of the Himalayas, the fluttering of colorful prayer flags, and the peaceful murmur of chants echoing through the mountain air. Let the humility and grace of this ancient practice lull you further into rest. Saturnalia Festival, Ancient Rome. As winter settled over ancient Rome, the city burst to life with Saturnalia, week-long festival of joy, squaws, and equality that began every year on December 17th, dedicated to Saturn, the god of agriculture and time. This beloved tradition turned the world upside down. Hey, it was more than celebration, it was a release. Shops closed, schools stopped, even courts took a break. For once, society's rigid rules gave way to something rare. Freedom, the most talked about tradition. Role reversal. Masters served their slaves. Children teased adults, and everyone dressed in bright, carefree clothing. A jester-like figure, called the Lord of Misrule, was crowned to lead the fun and mischief. Homes filled with laughter and feasts. Long tables were laid with olives, cheeses, and sweet wine. Friends and family exchanged small candles, called ceremonial symbols of light, pushing back the dark days of winter. Gambling, normally frowned upon, became common. Singing in the streets, dancing in the courtyards, and warm embraces in the cold air made Saturnalia feel like a dream shared by all. But it wasn't just about fun. Saturnalia pointed to something deeper, a memory of the mythical Golden Age, when Saturn ruled and all were equals. It reminded Romans of what life could be when status didn't matter, and joy was shared freely. Now, as you drift toward sleep, imagine those lively Roman streets bathed in torchlight. Picture laughter echoing through stone archways and the scent of roasted nuts and honey drifting in the air. Feel the gentle madness of a world turned on its head in fear, but in festive freedom. Saturnalia teaches us that even the heaviest burdens can be set down, and in their place, we can lift laughter, light, and love. Let that feeling carry you softly into your dream. Binding of the court Celtic birth ritual among the ancient Celts. The birth of a child was not only a celebration of life, but also a moment of deep spiritual connection. One of the most meaningful ways this connection was honored was through the binding of the cord, a ritual both symbolic and sacred. Shortly after birth, a soft woolen cord, often dyed in natural reds or greens, was gently tied around the baby's wrist or ankle. This was no ordinary string. It represented unity, protection, and the invisible thread between the newborn, the ancestors, and the earth itself. Performed by a midwife or village elder, the ritual included quiet blessings spoken in Gaelic, calling upon the spirits of the land and sky to watch over the child. The ceremony usually unfolded by the hearth or in an open field, with the mother surrounded by women of the tribe. They would sing low, melodic lullabies, creating a soundscape as ancient as the stones in their sacred groves. Sacred herbs, such as chamomile or mugwort, might be sprinkled into a bowl of water or milk, used to anoint the child gently. A carved token, perhaps in the shape of an oak leaf, spiral, or animal, was sometimes buried with the placenta to bind the child to the earth's nurturing energies. The ritual wasn't just about beginnings, it was a promise of resilience, love, and continuity. Over the months or years, the cord would wear naturally and fall away, seen as a sign that the child was ready to step more fully into their own path. But the spiritual bond remained unseen, but unbroken. Now, as you rest, picture soft firelight flickering on stone walls, the whisper of ancient lullabies in the air, and a newborn gently cradled in ancestral warmth. Let this timeless ritual settle into your dreams, reminding you that you, too, are part of something rooted, sacred, and holy. Lemurian Festival. In the quiet hours before dawn, the ancient Romans held a curious and sacred festival called Lemuria. Celebrated on May 9th, 11th, and 13th, it was designed to appease restless spirits known as Lemuries, which were believed to wander the earth. These were not honored ancestors, but forgotten souls, ones who hadn't been properly buried or remembered. The ritual was performed at home, and in the dark and silence of early morning, the head of the household would rise barefoot, wash his hands 3 times, and walk through the house, tossing black beans over his shoulder. As he did, he would say a phrase 9 times, "With these beans, I redeem me and mine." The idea was that the spirits would collect the beans and leave the family in peace. The beans, symbolic of fertility and transition, were thought to have the power to distract and absorb the attention of these wandering souls. After the bean ritual, the head of the household would clash bronze pots to drive the spirits away, saying 9 more incantations to ensure they were gone. No marriages, temple visits, or public ceremonies were allowed during Lemuria. It was a solemn, private time. Though eerie, it was not meant to provoke fear, but to restore balance and protect the living from the forgotten dead. As you listen now, imagine a quiet Roman home, the chill of early morning, the soft scatter of beans across the floor, and the soft clank of metal echoing through dim corridors. Let that gentle act of remembrance reassure you that even in ancient times, the people sought peace not only in life, but in the space between. Now, let's try a different kind of meditation. Imagine you are walking through a bustling marketplace. You see fresh fruits, vibrant clothing, and hear lively conversations. Suddenly, your attention is drawn to a nearby commotion. People are pointing and whispering. Curious, you decide to investigate. As you approach, you hear a familiar voice. It's your friend. He spots you, smiles, and motions for you to come closer. You lean in to listen as he shares exciting news. His daughter has just become engaged to be married. Overjoyed, he describes how his daughter found love with a kind and intelligent young man. They plan to wed in a month, and he wants to know your thoughts. You congratulate them both and reflect on your own journey. Your son, too, is of marriageable age, and you've been praying for him to find a good match. You thank fortune for blessing your friend's family and silently make a wish for your own son's future. The conversation turns to preparations for the wedding. Your friend mentions his wife has chosen a special ring for the engagement party. You remember seeing a beautiful silver ring with an emerald at the jeweler's. It would be perfect for a bride-to-be. You offer to help select gifts and plan to visit the jeweler together. Before parting ways, you exchange warm wishes and promises to meet again soon. As you walk away, you feel a sense of contentment and hope for your son's future. The image fades and you are brought back to the present. Take a moment to appreciate the tranquility you found. Carry this feeling of calm with you as you continue your days. Firewalking Fiji, Greece, across the world. Cultures separated by oceans and time have shared a powerful ritual. Firewalking in places like Fiji and ancient Greece. This act wasn't simply a test of physical endurance. It was a sacred passage of purification, belief, and transformation. In Fiji, firewalking originated with the Sawa people on the island of Beka. Men would walk barefoot across beds of glowing embers, unharmed, after undergoing days of spiritual preparation. These men were chosen, trained, and believed to possess a special connection to ancestral spirits. Before the walk, there would be blessings, chants, and communal feasts. The fire was not feared, was revered, seen as a living force to be respected. Similarly, in ancient Greece, firewalking appeared in rituals honoring Anastasia, a spiritual tradition dedicated to Saint Constantine and ancient deities before him. Participants, after dancing to the beat of drums and falling into trance-like states, would walk over burning coals without injury. They believed their purity of heart and strength of faith protected them. These rituals were not performed as spectacles, They were acts of inner focus, devotion, and community strength. Firewalking served to cleanse, to awaken, and to reconnect the human spirit to something larger than itself. Now, as you drift deeper into rest, imagine the rhythmic beat of tribal drums or the distant hum of a chanting circle. Picture glowing embers under a starlit sky and the steady footsteps of those who walk not in pain, but in peace. Let that courage and calm settle into Yuri, reminding you that strength can be found not in resistance, but in surrender to something sacred. Oracle bone divination, ancient China. In the hush of early Chinese civilization, a sacred practice emerged that connected rulers with the spirit world. Oracle bone divination, an ancient ritual dating back over 3,000 years to the Shang dynasty, was a bridge between the heavens and earth, where kings, instead of seeking counsel from advisors, went directly to the ancestral spirits for guidance. The ritual was both methodical and mystical, a fascinating blend of science and spirituality. It all began with the preparation of the bones. Often the shoulder blades of oxen or the shells of turtles, carefully cleaned and polished until smooth and ready for inscribing. The questions that would determine their fate were then carved into the bone using sharp tools. Queries that spanned every aspect of life, from the mundane to the momentous. They ranged from, will my crops flourish this season? Or, what will the weather be like in the coming months? To more critical inquiries, such as, will my army be victorious in battle? Or, will my wife bear a child? Once the questions were etched into the bone, the diviner, usually a priest or a shaman, would place them in a fire-lit chamber. Here, with the flames dancing around him, they would focus their energy and apply heat to specific spots on the bone. The intense dry heat caused the moisture within the bone to rapidly expand, creating sudden cracks that snaked across the surface. These cracks, much like a fortune teller's reading lines on a palm, were interpreted as messages from the divine. Their shape, direction, and even intensity held meaning. The diviner, trained for years in the art of reading these signs, would carefully examine each line, deciphering the will of the spirits. The king, usually accompanied by scribes and other spiritual officials, would listen intently as the diviner translated the messages from the ancestors. Every session was a unique event, a conversation between the mortal realm and the spiritual one. The questions, the answers, and even the process of the bone cracking were all meticulously recorded. These ancient texts, found preserved in archaeological sites, offer us a glimpse into not just the spiritual beliefs of early Chinese civilization, but also everyday life, hopes, dreams, and fears. As you sit here now, close your eyes and imagine yourself in that ancient chamber. Picture the flickering bronze lamp, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The air is heavy with the scent of burning incense, and the soft glow of candlelight illuminates the weathered faces of the priests gathered around a table. In the center sits a bowl filled with cracked turtle shells and sharpened animal bones. You can hear the crackling of the fire as the priest leans forward, carefully placing a shell into the flames. Suddenly, there's a loud pop and a thin line appears on the shell. The priest's eyes light up and he turns to the king, his voice low and reverent. He begins to speak, and you find yourself at the edge of a world where the veil between the physical and spiritual is thin, where the wisdom of the ancients guides the decisions of kings, and where the secrets of the universe are revealed through the language of cracked bone. Feeding the kami in the lush forests and serene temples of Japan. An ancient Shinto ritual known as feeding the kami continues to this day or quiet. Reverent ceremony meant to nourish the invisible spirits of nature. Known as kami, these spirits inhabit rivers, trees, mountains, and even the wind. They are not gods in a distant sky, but sacred presences all around us. The ritual is gentle and intimate. Offerings, called shinsunar, placed on a small altar or sacred space. These might include rice, sake, salt, fruits, and vegetables, simple seasonal foods presented with great care. The belief is that by feeding the kami, humans show gratitude, maintain balance with nature, and ensure harmony in their lives. Before the food is offered, it is often ritually purified. The person performing the ritual will bow, clap their hands to attract the kami's attention, and speak soft words of respect or thanks. The act is more than symbolic. It is a real relationship, a dialogue of humility, reverence, and care. Feeding the kami happens during festivals, but also in daily life. A farmer might place a bowl of rice at the edge of a field. Fishermen may leave a fish by the sea. These small acts remind people they are never alone, that nature watches, listens, and responds. As you rest now, imagine a quiet Shinto shrine nestled among cedar trees, the soft rustle of leaves and the rhythmic clap of hands echoing like a heartbeat. Picture a bowl of steamed rice on a smooth wooden tray, untouched but deeply appreciated. Let the gentle spirit of the kami fill your dreams. Let gratitude flow through you like a quiet stream. Now, in every simple offering, there is peace. In every whispered thank you, there is sacredness. Now, let's move on to the next point of stillness and reflection, the bull leaping ritual. In the sun-drenched palace of Knossos on the island of Crete, the ancient Minoans practiced one of the most breathtaking and mysterious rituals in the ancient world, bull leaping. Imagine a world where humans and bulls coexist, not in conflict, but in harmony. That's the world of the Minoans, an advanced Bronze Age civilization that thrived on the Mediterranean island of Crete from roughly 2700 to 1450 BC. Their society, often referred to as the first true European civilization, was renowned for its art, architecture, and a unique cultural tradition, bull leaping. Unlike the brutal bullfighting rituals found in other cultures, the Minoan bull leaping was an elegant, acrobatic, and deeply symbolic ceremony, part sport, part spiritual offering. Their art, including the famous frescoes at Knossos, depicts young men and women with lithe, graceful bodies engaging in a daring dance with a powerful bull. As the bull charges forward, the dancer leaps into the air, not to harm the animal, but to become one with it. They grasp its horns and use the force of its motion to flip over its back and land behind it. This astonishing feat required immense courage, balance, and trust in both the bull and oneself. But what was the meaning behind this death-defying ritual? Scholars have put forth various theories. Some see it as a celebration of the harmony between humanity and nature, a testament to the Minoans' deep connection with the natural world. Others view it as an initiation rite, a coming-of-age passage into adulthood, a way to test one's courage and skill. It could also be an enactment of mythical battles between humans and bulls, a symbolic reenactment of the struggle between man and beast. The bull leaping took place in large open courtyards within the palace complexes, likely during festivals and religious ceremonies. The courtyards, with their painted floors and decorated walls, served as stages for these dramatic performances. The air would be filled with the sounds of drums and the excited murmurs of the gathered community, their voices echoing through the vast space. The lepers, bathed in the golden glow of the Mediterranean sun, would dance with the rhythmic pounding of feet on hard-packed earth, creating a mesmerizing spectacle. The event was not just a test of physical prowess, but a display of mental fortitude and spiritual devotion. The leapers, often shown in pairs, were likely trained for years, not just in the art of acrobatics, but also in the philosophy and poetry of the ritual. Each leap was an act of faith, a surrender to the power of the bull and the rhythm of life itself. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the golden sun over Crete, the sound of drums echoing through marble halls, and the thunder of hooves across warm stones. Feel the leap, the moment suspended in midair between fear and freedom. Let the image of grace in the face of wildness lull you into sleep. There is courage in surrender. There is peace in trusting the rhythm of life. Sati, ancient India. Of all the ancient rituals, few stir as much sorrow and contemplation as sati, practiced in parts of ancient India. Sati involved a widow voluntarily, and later, sometimes forcefully, immolating herself on her husband's funeral pyre, though deeply controversial and rightfully banned in modern times. The ritual held significant cultural meaning in the ancient world and deserves to be understood through a careful and compassionate lens. Sati, or sati, comes from the Sanskrit word for pure or true. In its earliest forms, it was seen as the ultimate act of loyalty, love, and devotion, a woman choosing to follow her husband into the next life. In Vedic literature, there are mentions of goddesses and celestial figures performing similar acts, and in some traditions, a sati was revered, even deified, as a woman who transcended the earthly bonds of sorrow. However, over centuries, what began as a spiritual ideal became distorted. In certain periods and regions, widows were pressured or even forced to participate. Yet, it's important to note that there were also many periods where sati was rare or even discouraged. The ritual itself was surrounded by solemn processions, sacred chants, and the belief that the soul's journey was being unified. Villagers would witness the act with both reverence and sorrow. A site of sati often became a shrine, marked by stones and offerings. As you drift into sleep, let this reminder settle gently. History holds beauty and pain side by side. In the firelight of ancient sorrow, there is also the echo of resilience. Imagine the flicker of oil lamps, the murmur of mantras, and the weight of silence among mourners. Not every story from the past is soothing, but each one asks us to listen, to remember, to carry forward the wisdom wrapped in compassion. If you found this episode thought-provoking, engaging, or if it shifted your perspective, I invite you to show your support. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these nuanced stories. Also, we would love to hear your thoughts and any historical figures or events you'd like us to cover in the future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and remember, in the grand tapestry of history, we are all connected. Heaven, sand mandala creation, Tibetan Buddhism. In the high mountain monasteries of Tibet, monks gather in silence, sitting cross-legged over platforms that hold intricate blueprints of divine design. But instead of ink or brush, they work with millions of grains of colored sand. This is the sacred ritual of sand mandala creation, a profound meditative art rooted in Tibetan Buddhism, an offering, a prayer, and a lesson, all in one. The ritual begins with purification of space and spirit. Monks chant ancient mantras, invoking compassion and clarity before even a single grain is placed. Using metal funnels called chakpur, they painstakingly release the sand in fine streams. Bit by bit, sacred geometry emerges mandalas, representing celestial palaces, deities, and the universe in perfect order. Every color, every shape carries meaning, each stroke a quiet meditation. For days, or even weeks, this breathtaking masterpiece unfolds. Vibrant, symmetrical, and impossibly detailed, it draws both practitioners and observers into stillness. But then, in an act of intentional impermanence, the entire mandala is destroyed. With a single brushstroke, all that beauty returns to dust. Kala, the ritual's climax is not creation, but dissolution. The monks gather the sand and carry it to a body of moving water, perhaps a stream or river, releasing it back into the world. It is a symbolic gesture. Nothing is permanent. Suffering, joy, beauty, and pain, they all pass. By letting go, the monks teach peace. As you settle in, imagine the soft sound of sand falling like rain, forming petals, flames, and stars. Picture hands steady with years of practice, creating and releasing with grace. Feel the quiet of the monastery, the gentle chanting that drifts like smoke. Let your thoughts rise and fall like those patterns in the sand. Let go. In the fleeting nature of things, we find the deepest stillness. 12. Rain Dance, Native American Plains Tribes. In the wide open plains of North America, beneath vast skies where clouds rolled slow and heavy, Native American tribes gathered to perform one of their most sacred and meaningful rituals, the rain dance. This ceremony was more than just a plea for rain. It was a song of gratitude, an offering to nature, and a demonstration of deep respect for the balance of life. Tribes like the Cherokee, Zuni, and Hopi practiced their own unique versions of the rain dance, Kana, each passed down from generation to generation like precious gifts. The dancers would paint symbols of lightning, rain, and clouds on their bodies. Feathers adorned their hair, fluttering like wind-blown leaves, while rattles tied to their ankles echoed the sound of distant thunder. The rhythm of the drums began slowly, matching the heartbeat of the land. Chanting voices rose in unison, carrying hopes and prayers into the sky. The dancers' movements flowed like water, swirling, stomping, and spiraling to mirror the motion of storms. Children danced beside elders, learning through movement the language of reverence and harmony with the earth. These dances often lasted hours or days, synchronized with the seasons or celestial alignments, but the true power of the ritual was not in the result, it was in the practice. Whether or not the rain fell, the rain dance strengthened the tribe's connection to their ancestors, to nature, and to each other. Now, as you close your eyes, imagine standing on warm, dry soil. Feel the soft vibration of the drums in your chest. The scent of sage and sweetgrass lingers in the breeze. The sky stretches above, infinite and listening. Let the rhythm of the rain dance carry you, not toward a storm, but toward peace, toward a quiet world where movement is prayer and every step is a gentle offering to the earth. The silence of the Druids. In the mist-covered hills of ancient Gaul, in the Emerald Isles of Old Britannia, there existed a mysterious group known as the Druids. They were the keepers of knowledge, the seers, the healers, the ones who walked between the worlds of man and the mysteries of the divine. Now, the Druids were renowned for many rituals, each more fascinating than the last. But one stood out, so subtle and profound, it left no echo in the annals of history, only stillness. It was known as the silence of the Druids. This was no ordinary ritual. It wasn't performed with words, chants, or incantations. It wasn't accompanied by rhythmic drumming or the crackle of a sacred fire. This ritual was as simple and complex as silence itself. The Druids believed that within silence lay a doorway to the divine, a portal to the very essence of existence. It was in the quiet that the veil between the spiritual and the material thinned, allowing one to commune directly with the spirits of the earth. So in the early hours before sunrise, they would gather in the ancient oak groves, those venerable trees that had stood as witnesses to countless seasons, their roots delving deep into the mysteries of the earth. There the Druids would stand, barefoot and cloaked in robes of green, becoming one with the emerald hues of the forest. They wouldn't speak. They wouldn't utter a single word, for speech, with its myriad sounds and distractions, could bridge the gap between them and the divine. In the absence of sound, they would stand in deep reverence, their eyes closed, their bodies still, their minds alert and not focused on any particular image or mantra. They were simply present, fully present in the stillness. Each Druid carried within them a question, a prayer, an intention, something they wished to bring to the attention of the Great Spirit. But they didn't shout it into the void. They held it gently in their heart and allowed it to resonate with the rhythm of nature. Some meditated on the well-being of their tribe, silently weaving spells of protection and prosperity. Others sought insight from the spirits of the land, asking for guidance on matters that troubled their people. But for all of them, the power of the ritual lay not in what was said, but in what was allowed to be heard, or more accurately, in what they became aware of. For as the minutes turned into hours, they began to perceive the subtle sounds of the forest, the gentle stir of birds in the nearby trees, the whisper of the wind as it caressed the ancient oaks, the soft rustle of leaves as they brushed against each other like old friends. And in the space between these natural sounds, they heard something else, something more profound. The heartbeat of the earth itself, a deep, resonant pulse that connected them all, the living, the breathing, the eternal. The silence of the Druids was not merely a ritual, it was a revelation, a profound experience of unity, of oneness with all of creation. It was a reminder that in the quietest corner of existence, the sacred is most alive. And now, dear listener, as you drift into sleep, I invite you to join the Druids in their ancient practice. Find stillness within the chaos of your day, for in that stillness lies a connection to something greater, a communion with the very essence of the universe. Let the silence wrap around you, embracing you in its vastness. In that silence, you might just hear the whispers of the ancient ones, the heartbeat of the earth. Or perhaps your own soul stirring, calling out to your team. Ant nose piercing ceremony. Amazon tribes, deep in the Amazon rainforest, where sunlight trickles through a cathedral of green leaves and the air is thick with stories. Certain tribes, such as the Sadamar, perform a powerful coming-of-age ritual, the ant nose piercing ceremony. This is not merely a tradition, but a profound transformation, one that bridges the realms of childhood and adulthood. At the center of this ceremony is the bullet ant, known for its sting, which is said to be among the most painful of any insect. Young initiates must wear gloves woven with dozens of these ants, stingers inward for extended periods. The pain is searing, described as waves of fire pulsing through the arms. But it's not suffering for its own sake. It's a lesson in resilience, in spiritual preparation, in facing fear with dignity. In some versions of the ritual, the ceremony continues with a symbolic nose piercing, using either an ant's stinger or a carefully carved thorn. This act represents the clarity of breath, the path of vision, and the purification of one's identity. The nose, tied to the breath of life, is pierced to welcome a deeper connection to the spirit world. Elders surround the initiate, chanting songs of strength and courage. The community offers no pity, only encouragement. The pain is witnessed, shared, and honored. Boys return from the ceremony, no longer just sons. They are seen as warriors, protectors, and part of the ancestral line that stretches deep into the forest's heart. Now, as you lay comfortably in your bed, imagine the flickering firelight on ancient faces. Hear the quiet chants beneath the jungle moon. The lesson of the ritual is not about withstanding pain, but understanding it, how it shapes us, cleanses us, and prepares us. Growth is never without struggle, but the soul, like the jungle, blooms strongest after the storm. 15. The Kamatan Harvest Ritual, Sabah, Borneo. In the lush, mountainous heart of Sabah, Borneo, the Kadazan Dusun people celebrate one of the most heartfelt and sacred rituals of the year, Kamatan, the harvest festival. Rooted in gratitude and myth, this ritual is dedicated to the rice spirit Bambazan, whose story of sacrifice nourishes not just the body, but the soul. According to legend, Bambazan was once a divine being who willingly gave herself to feed humanity. Her body became the rice, her spirit the life force in every grain. Each harvest is not just a reaping of crops, but a reunion with this spirit. Kampt honors her with reverence, festivity, and a gentle joy. The ritual begins with the Magabo, a solemn ceremony led by Bobohis and priestesses, who chant in ancient tongues, calling Bambazan to return to the paddy fields. Offerings are placed: rice wine, fermented cakes, fresh flowers, each symbolizing a wish for abundance and protection. The air carries a hum of reverence as villagers gather in traditional dress, the scent of lemongrass and bamboo smoke curling gently through the village. But Kamatan is also a celebration of life. Music and dance follow the Sumazo, a graceful dance that mimics the flight of eagles. Its families reunite, laughter rings through the valleys, and rice wine flows freely. It's a time to heal, to forgive, to remember, and to rejoice. As you drift toward sleep, imagine warm golden fields swaying in a tropical breeze. Hear the distant beat of gongs and the soothing rhythm of the Sumazo. Picture a community bound by the rhythm of the seasons and the story of a goddess who became grain. The Kamatan Harvest Ritual reminds us that every meal is a gift, every seed a spirit, and every ending a beginning. 16. Pythias, Prophecies. Delphi, Greece, in the shadow of Mount Parnassus, where olive trees whispered to ancient skies, there stood the temple of Apollo at Delphi, a place where gods met mortals, and the future came wrapped in riddles. Here lived the Pythia, the oracle of Delphi, a priestess whose prophecies guided kings, warriors, and wanderers alike. The Pythia's ritual was steeped in sacred tradition. On appointed days, she would descend into the Adyton, the temple's inner chamber. There, she would sit upon a sacred tripod above a chasm from which sweet-smelling vapors were said to rise, gifts of the earth herself. Some believed these vapors were the breath of Gaia, the primal mother, or perhaps the voice of Apollo speaking in sacred fog. In trance-like stillness, the Pythia inhaled the scented air and chewed laurel leaves, sacred to Apollo. Her body relaxed, her eyes turned inward, and soon the god's voice would ripple through her lips. She spoke in fragmented verses, visions painted with mystery. Priests standing by interpreted her words, turning them into messages that shaped the fate of cities and empires. No simple fortune teller, the Pythia was a vessel, a living bridge between the mortal and divine. Her words were revered, feared, and followed with trembling awe. Now, as you lie back and let your breath slow, imagine cool stone under your feet, the flickering of oil lamps in an ancient temple. Feel the quiet hush of anticipation, the reverence that filled the air as supplicants waited for a glimpse into the unknown. The story of the Pythia reminds us that not all knowledge is loud. Some wisdom arrives in whispers, through mist, dream, and stillness. And sometimes the answers we seek are already within us, waiting in silence to be heard. 17. Spirit Canoe Journey, Pacific Northwest Tribes. Among the lush forests and misty shores of the Pacific Northwest, tribes like the Tlingit, Haida, and Salish speak of journeys that go far beyond the physical. One of the most sacred and mysterious of these is the Spirit Canoe Journey, ceremonial voyage into the spirit world, guided by shamans to heal the soul and restore balance within the community. The ritual often begins in the quiet hours of early dawn. The shaman, accompanied by drummers and singers, prepares the ceremonial space, often inside a longhouse scented with cedar smoke. As rhythmic drumming begins, participants gather in a symbolic canoe, sometimes an actual carved vessel, sometimes purely imagined, woven from breath and belief. The shaman, like a captain of dreams, chants and calls upon the spirit world. The canoe begins its journey not over water, but across the boundary between worlds. It glides through fog between realms to search for lost souls, recover spiritual fragments, or petition guardian spirits for aid. During this trance, those aboard might encounter animal guides, ancestral voices, or shadowy forms from their own subconscious. The experience is deeply personal, yet shared, a voyage both inward and outward. When the canoe returns, it brings healing not only to the individual, but to the tribe. Now, close your eyes. Hear the soft echo of drums, like the beating of wings in the distance. Imagine the canoe rocking gently on invisible waves, drifting across a sea of stars and spirit. Feel the presence of unseen guides, gentle and wise. The spirit canoe teaches us that healing is a journey, sometimes quiet, often mysterious, and always sacred. And though we may not paddle through misty forests, we each carry a canoe of our own, one that knows the way home. 18. Festival of the Dead, Zapotec, Mexico. In the sun-soaked valleys of Oaxaca, Mexico, the Zapotec people celebrate one of the most moving and intimate rituals of ancestral remembrance, the Festival of the Dead, rooted in ancient Mesoamerican belief. This celebration bridges the living and the departed, not with sorrow, but with color, music, and loving welcome. Every year in early November, families prepare for the return of their ancestor spirits. They clean graves, decorate altars, called orphanages, with marigolds, candles, food, and cherished items. The scent of copal incense fills the air, believed to guide the souls back from the underworld. But the ritual is not solemn, it's joyful. Musicians play in cemeteries, children laugh among sugar skulls, and families gather by candlelight to share stories and meals. For the Zapotec, death is not an end, but a continuation of spiritual cycle where loved ones return home, if only for a night. During this time, it's said that the veil between worlds thins. Spirits walk beside the living, hear their words, and even partake in the offerings. Elders tell tales of their ancestors, keeping their memory alive in each generation's heart. The festival becomes a dance of time, where past and present move in step. Now, breathe deeply. Imagine soft candlelight flickering on an altar filled with flowers. Feel the warmth of shared food, the laughter of children, the scent of earth after rain. Imagine your own ancestors near, not as shadows, but as cherished guests come to visit. The Festival of the Dead reminds us that love never ends, that memory is a bridge, and that even in sleep, we are held by those who came before us. Rest now in the quiet comfort of connection. The night is long, but you are never alone. 19. Sky-gazing meditation, Bun tradition, Tibet, high in the Himalayas, where the sky stretches like an endless canvas above snow-kissed peaks. The ancient Bun tradition of Tibet offers a practice that is at once profound and beautifully simple sky-gazing meditation. Known as Trulkur, this ritual invites practitioners to dissolve the illusion of separateness and merge with the vastness of the sky itself. Before dawn, practitioners climb to a quiet mountain ridge or open plateau. There, seated, cross-legged on the earth, they begin the ritual by aligning breath, body, and awareness. The eyes gently opened, not to observe the world, but to receive it. The gaze lifts softly to the endless expanse above. In this practice, the sky is not merely scenery, It is a teacher, a mirror, and a portal to the nature of mind, There are no chants or mantras, no complex visualizations, just the presence of the sky, vast and unbound. As thoughts arise, they are allowed to drift away like clouds, leaving the mind clear and still. Monks and lay people alike speak of moments where the self dissolves, where the boundaries between skin, sky, and spirit blur. The sky becomes a symbol of ultimate freedom, ungraspable, infinite, and deeply peaceful. Now, close your eyes and imagine yourself sitting on that high plateau. The wind brushes your cheeks, cool and clean. The air is thin and clear, and above you, the sky stretches in every direction, untouched and eternal. Let your thoughts float gently past like distant birds. Let your breath be slow and steady. In the silence between each breath, you touch the same space the Bun masters knew spacious, silent, sacred. And in this moment, drifting between the stars and your breath, you find not just peace, but perspective. Crocodile scarring initiation, Papua New Guinea, deep within the Sepik River region of Papua New Guinea. A striking initiation ritual marks the transition from boyhood to manhood. Known as the crocodile scarring ceremony, this rite is both physically intense and spiritually significant, rooted in the belief that crocodiles are ancestral beings who grant strength, wisdom, and connection to the spirit world. Young men from tribes such as the Chambri and the Aimel willingly undergo this painful process as a rite of passage. It takes place in a sacred men's house, far from the village. There, elders carve hundreds of small, shallow cuts into the initiate's chest, arms, and back using sharp bamboo or bone. These cuts are carefully arranged to resemble the scaled skin of a crocodile. As the wounds heal, they form raised scars, transforming the young man's body into a living tapestry of identity and endurance. During this process, the initiate is taught tribal knowledge, stories of ancestors, and the sacred lore of the crocodile spirit. He must remain stoic and still, a demonstration of his readiness to carry the weight of adulthood. Chants, drumming, and smoke accompany the ceremony, creating a trance-like atmosphere that merges the physical with the spiritual. The pain is not punishment, tid is transformation. It is a communion with the spirit of the river and the beast that lives within. Now, as you lie still, imagine the warm, flickering firelight in the ceremonial hut. Hear the low, steady drumbeat echoing through the jungle night. The air is thick with the scent of earth and smoke. The young man breathes deeply, rising with each cut, not into agony, but into power. The scars he bears are not wounds, but wisdom, and in that truth, he is forever changed. Rest now, and know, strength often begins in silence and shadow. 21. Walking the labyrinth, medieval Christian mysticism. In the quiet corners of medieval cathedrals, etched into cold stone floors or laid out in winding garden paths, lies a ritual of sacred movement, walking the labyrinth. Like a maze, a labyrinth has no dead ends. It offers one single path that leads inward to the center and then outward again. For centuries, Christian mystics and pilgrims have used this practice not to find something, but to lose everything worry, distraction, for and arrive at peace. During times when pilgrimages to holy sites like Jerusalem became dangerous or impossible, labyrinths were created as symbolic journeys. To walk them was to walk a miniature pilgrimage, a sacred path of reflection, prayer, and inner transformation. The pilgrim would enter the labyrinth, slowly, deliberately, each footstep a prayer. There were no maps needed. The path turned and twisted, not to confuse, but to quiet the mind. Some carried candles, others walked in silence. In the stillness, thoughts would rise unwelcome, others not tanned. Each was offered to the journey. At the center, one would pause. Here, in the still heart of the spiral, was the space for release. Some would kneel, some weep, others simply breathed deeply. And then, just as slowly, they would walk the path back out, reborn in some small, sacred way. Now, in your own quiet space, picture the winding path beneath your feet. With each slow step, imagine burdens falling away. The noise of the world grows fainter. The air becomes softer. You don't have to know where you're going. You only need to keep moving, gently and with intention. In the labyrinth, there are no wrong turns, only the journey. It's only the still center waiting to meet you. And from that center, you return not lost, but lighter. 22. Salt Trail Offerings. Andes. High in the rugged Andes, where llamas tread narrow trails and the wind speaks in ancient tones, the indigenous Quechua people practice a ritual as humble as it is profound. The Salt Trail Offerings is not a ceremony witnessed by many. There are no grand stages or golden icons. Instead, it is a ritual of quiet reverence, practiced by travelers and herders making their way through the highlands. As they journey along old salt route paths, once used to transport salt from sacred lakes to distant valleys, travelers pause at certain points to leave small offerings. These may be handfuls of coca leaves, pinches of salt, drops of chicha, or tiny woven trinkets. The offerings are given to Pachamama, Mother Earth, Apis mountain spirits, and ancestors who guard the land. Each offering is an act of gratitude and humility. The traveler acknowledges the risk of the journey, the power of the land, and the unseen hands that guide their steps. In a whisper, they might say a prayer, ask for protection, or simply thank the mountains for their mercy. These rituals don't require witnesses. Their power lies in the sincerity of the moment. The trail becomes a temple, the offering a bridge between human and divine. Now, as your breath softens, imagine the narrow trail winding through misty cliffs. The air is crisp, scented with earth and stone. You kneel at a small stone pile, your hands steady as you leave your offering. Feel the quiet blessing in return, a breeze against your cheek, a bird call in the distance, the feeling that you are not alone, even in the vastness. The Salt Trail reminds us that the sacred does not need spectacle, that even in our smallest gestures, we can touch something eternal. Sleep now, with the mountains watching over. 23. Mako Maori Facial Tattooing. In the lush green lands of Aotearoa, modern-day New Zealand, the Maori people have long carried their identity not just in their stories, but on their skin. The sacred art of moko, or facial tattooing, is not a mere decoration. It is a living language, a spiritual rite, and a mark of heritage worn with pride, pain, and deep personal meaning. The moko ritual begins long before the ink touches the skin. It starts with genealogy, Wakapapa, and oral history passed down through generations. The patterns etched into the face reflect tribal affiliations, social status, life achievements, and spiritual lineage. Each line is intentional, each curve a chapter of a life being lived with purpose. Traditionally, the process was done using chisels known as ui, carving deep into the skin to create textured grooves. The pain was intense, but it was embraced. To endure it without flinching was a sign of strength and commitment to one's ancestors. The tattooist, Tohunga Tomoko, was not just an artist, but a spiritual guide. Through the pain and the ritual, the tattooist and the recipient are connected in a sacred bond, ensuring the designs flow correctly and connect to the ancestral knowledge held within the body. After the ritual, the face becomes a sacred text. When a Maori elder speaks, their mako speaks too, of battles won, children raised, and paths walked. It is a passport to identity in both the earthly and spiritual worlds. Now, as your breath slows, imagine sitting beside a flickering fire, the rhythmic tapping of ui echoing softly. The air smells of smoke and earth. Stories swirl around you, and every mark etched into the skin becomes a doorway to the past. The pain fades. What remains is pride, connection, and clarity. Sleep now, knowing that true identity is not always spoken. It is lived, and sometimes it is worn. For seer magic rituals, Norse culture, and the shadowed fjords and windswept cliffs of ancient Scandinavia. The Norse practiced a form of magic, both feared and revered seer. This mystical art, often led by a vulva or seeress, was a ritual of prophecy, trance, and spiritual weaving that blurred the line between the living and the unseen. Seer was not a spectacle of lightning or flame. It was subtle and deep, like the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Practitioners would gather in sacred space, stone circles, hilltops, or under the moonlight. There, the vulva, often an elder woman, draped in cloaks and carrying a staff, would enter a trance through chanting and rhythmic drumming. The purpose? To see what others could not. She might divine the future, locate lost souls, or influence the threads of fate. Norse belief held that the world was woven like cloth. The vulva could tug at those threads, bending destiny with care and caution. Participants would chant alongside her, anchoring her spirit as it journeyed. The ritual could last hours, and when the vulva returned from her trance, she would offer visions, cryptic, symbolic, and powerful. Despite its potency, seer was controversial. It challenged norms, especially for men, since it was linked to urgia term for unmanly behavior. Yet, even the mighty Odin, god of war and wisdom, practiced it in secret, proving that true power often lies in what is hidden. Now, as night wraps around you, picture a circle of stones lit by firelight. Hear the low hum of chant, the steady beat of drums, the breath of the seeress as she steps beyond the veil. The magic is not loud. It whispers, If you listen, even in dreams, you may hear it too. Let the ancient rhythms guide you into sleep, where the threads of fate gently sway. A 25 Zoroastrian tower of silence rituals high upon remote, sunlit hilltops in Iran and parts of India. You might find a structure of both stark and serene, the Tower of Silence, or Dogma. This is where followers of Zoroastrianism practiced one of the world's most unique and contemplative funeral rituals, sacred return of the body to nature. In the Zoroastrian tradition, the four elements, earth, fire, water, and are considered pure and sacred. To bury or cremate the dead would risk polluting these vital forces. So instead, the deceased were brought to the Tower of Silence, a circular stone platform open to the sky, where they were gently laid out. There, under the watch of silent priests and grieving family members, nature took its course. Vultures, sacred birds of passage, arrived swiftly. They were not seen as grim, but as divine recyclers, cleansing the body and releasing the soul. Within hours, only bones remained pure, dry, and free of decay. These were later gathered and placed in a central ossuary, allowing the spirit to complete its journey to the afterlife. The ritual was carried out with dignity and deep reverence. Priests, wearing white robes and masks to protect the body's sanctity, chanted prayers for the soul's safe passage. No one wept loudly. The silence was full of meaning, a respectful hush for the final transition. Now, as you rest in stillness, imagine a gentle wind atop a stony hill, the sun warm but not harsh, the sky wide and watching. Spirit, like a bird, lifts and drifts beyond sight. Death, in this view, is not an end. It's a transformation, quiet, graceful, and utterly natural. Let go. Let the old pass softly. Let your breath slow, knowing that every part of life, even the final one, returns to peace. Sleep now, wrapped in the vastness of the sky. 26. Chant Ritual. Tibetan Buddhism. In the high plateaus of Tibet, where the wind sings through stone valleys and prayer flags flutter like thoughts, a sacred and fearless ritual is practiced by Tibetan Buddhists, the chant ritual. Unlike most spiritual ceremonies, this one asks the practitioner to confront the very things they fear most, not to destroy them, but to offer themselves to them with compassion, which means to cut through, is a meditative practice designed to sever the ego and dissolve attachment. It is often performed alone at night in remote cemeteries or haunted places where spirits are said to linger and the mind as illusions grow strongest. The practitioner begins by blowing a long note from a human thigh-blown trumpet, a sound that calls the unseen. Then, with a double-sided drum and melodic chanting, they visualize offering their own body as a feast to demons and spirits, not with terror, but with joy. They give themselves completely every fear, every craving, every illusion. The ritual isn't about death or self-harm. It's about radical generosity. It's about realizing that nothing truly belongs to us, not our flesh, not our fears, not even our thoughts. By giving it all away, the practitioner finds freedom, peace, and a profound sense of clarity. It is said that after completing chant, one no longer fears the dark, for the dark has become a teacher, not a threat. Now, close your eyes and listen for the faint beat of a drum in the distance. Feel the spaciousness of a mountain night. Let go of the day, the thoughts, the weight. Give it all away, gently. And in that surrender, find yourself lighter, freer. Sleep, not to escape, but to offer your dreams to the night as gifts. The shadows are no longer frightening. They are part of the light. 27. The Dogon Sugoi Ceremony Mali. In the rocky cliffs of Mali, among ancient villages built into the stone, the Dogon people hold one of the longest and most sacred rituals in the world, the Sugoi ceremony, taking place only once every 60 years. This elaborate series of rituals spans 7 years and marks the renewal of the universe, the remembrance of the first ancestor, and the reaffirmation of cultural unity. The Sugoi is a bridge between generations. It begins with secret preparations by initiated elders who pass down sacred knowledge and symbols carved into long wooden masks. These masks, some towering up to 20 feet, are central to the ritual and represent spirits, ancestors, and cosmic forces. As the ceremony unfolds, these masks are worn by dancers who move in sweeping arcs across the red dust, their steps echoing stories passed down over centuries. Every Dogon male must attend the Sugoi at least once in his lifetime, and its occurrence defines generational memory. During the 7-year celebration, the ceremony travels from village to village, reenacting mythical events and aligning human life with celestial rhythms. The Dogon are also renowned for their deep astronomical knowledge, particularly of Sirius, the dog star, and this knowledge is interwoven with Sugoi lore. The dances, the chants, the mask making, all of it connects the living with the dead, the earth with the stars, the now with the beginning of time. Now, as your body relaxes, imagine distant drums carried on desert wind. Feel the beat of feet on ancient stone. Picture towering masks swaying slowly under the moonlight. These stars above are not just points of light. They are witnesses to your breath, your dreams, your being. Let the memory of the universe wrap gently around you. Close your eyes, knowing that even time itself can be damned. Shamanic soul retrieval varies indigenous cultures. Across many indigenous traditions, from the Americas to Siberia. From Mongolia to the Arctic, there exists a ritual as intimate as it is cosmic. Shamanic soul retrieval. Its ancient practice is rooted in the belief that trauma, grief, or fear can cause parts of the soul to fracture and flee. And when this happens, one doesn't just feel broken, they feel lost. The soul retrieval ritual begins when the shaman, acting as a healer and guide, journeys into non-ordinary reality through drumming, chanting, and trance. They travel beyond the veil of the seen world into the spirit realms where soul fragments hide. Sometimes these lost pieces appear as children, animals, or glowing lights. The shaman gently persuades them to return, to reintegrate into the person's being. The ritual may be accompanied by breathwork, herbal smoke, sacred songs, and the touch of healing hands. When the lost soul parts are welcomed back, there is often weeping not of sorrow, but of recognition. People report feeling whole again, like something they didn't even know was missing has finally come home. The ritual repairs not just the spirit, but the emotional and physical layers of a person's life. Shamanic soul retrieval isn't merely symbolic, it is deeply transformative, often marking the beginning of profound healing, self-love, and new purpose. Take a deep breath. Imagine a drum sounding softly in the distance, steady like a heartbeat. Let your mind drift, not away, but inward toward the parts of yourself you've forgotten, hidden, or feared. See them now, standing before you, ready to return. There is no judgment here, only welcome. Sleep as the drumbeat fades. Sleep as your soul returns bright, whole, and home again. 29. The Hadaka Matsuri, Japan. Every winter, in the biting cold of February, thousands of men gather in Okayama, Japan, dressed in nothing but loincloths and determination. They come to participate in the Hadaka Matsuri, or Naked Festival, an ancient purification ritual meant to bring good fortune for the year ahead. Though the scene may appear chaotic and even humorous to the outsider, at its core lies a sacred act of cleansing body and spirit. This ritual dates back over 500 years and was originally tied to Shinto beliefs in purification and spiritual renewal. Participants gather in a temple where they are doused in icy water to purify them before the main event. Then, packed tightly in a heaving crowd, they jostle and push to reach for two sacred shinji that have been tossed into the mass by a priest. Catching the shinji and placing it upright into a box of rice is said to bring a year of happiness and blessings. But the goal is not just individual victory. The chaotic struggle, the communal endurance of cold and discomfort, and the shared sense of purpose bond the participants together. The crowd moves as one, shouting, slipping, pushing each man, both an individual and a part of something much larger. This is not a test of strength alone, but of spirit. And when the shinji is finally secured, cheers rise into the winter sky, mixing steam and breath in triumph. Now, as you lie warm beneath your blankets, imagine the chill wind, the rush of energy, the echo of tradition that spans centuries. Let the tension in your body melt like snow under sunlight. Feel the unity, the laughter, the ritual of starting fresh. Sometimes the path to good fortune is raw, real, and cold. But tonight, you need only rest. 30. The night of Nyapi Bali on the Indonesian island of Bali. There is one night each year when everything stops. No traffic hums, no lights flicker, no voices rise above a whisper. The airports close, the beach is empty, and even fires are not lit. It is called Nyapi, the Day of Silence, sacred Hindu ritual marking the Balinese. New Year. But Naiapi is not just a day. It is a journey of cleansing and balance. The ritual begins with weeks of preparation, elaborate offerings, processions, and the creation of Okugo giant demon effigies built by hand from bamboo and paper. On the eve of Naiapi, these monsters are paraded through the streets with music and fire before being burned, symbolizing the purging of negative energy and evil spirits. Then, as dawn breaks on Naiapi, silence descends. No work is done. No entertainment is allowed. People fast, meditate, and stay indoors. Even electricity is avoided. The island sleeps, reflecting inward instead of outward. The silence is so complete that satellites have captured Bali's darkness from space. The purpose of Naiapi is both cosmic and personal, to confuse malevolent spirits into thinking the island is uninhabited, and to offer humans a rare gift, the chance to truly reset. In the stillness, people listen deeply to themselves, to nature, and to the divine. As you settle into sleep, imagine the world hushed into peace. No demands, no noise, it's breath, heartbeat, and the gentle hum of being. Let the spirit of Naiapi wrap around you like a blanket woven from moonlight and quiet intention. In that sacred silence, may your soul find rest. May your dreams be clear. And when you wake, may your new year begin, not with noise, but with no 31. Kava drinking ritual. Fiji, Tonga. In the warm islands of Fiji and Tonga, under skies brushed with ocean breeze and starlight, there exists a ritual that brings people together in peace. The kava drinking ceremony. This ancient tradition centers around a drink made from the root of the kava plant, known for its calming effects and sacred cultural significance. Participants gather in a circle, often in a communal hut or beneath the open sky. A woven mat is laid out, and the kava root is ground into powder, then mixed with water in a large wooden bowl. The result is an earthy, slightly bitter beverage thick with tradition and symbolism. The ritual begins with a chant or prayer, acknowledging ancestors and spirits. Kava is served in a coconut shell, passed from person to person with both hands, sign of respect. The drinker claps once before receiving the shell, then again after drinking, signaling gratitude and completion. Kava ceremonies are not just social gatherings, they are sacred spaces for diplomacy, storytelling, conflict resolution, and spiritual connection. The drink's gentle sedative properties bring a sense of tranquility, allowing for open hearts and peaceful conversation. As time slows, voices soften, even strangers become kin. As you lie in bed, imagine the rhythmic clapping, the soft hum of ocean nearby, the warmth of shared silence. Feel the calm that flows through the circle. No rush, no need to impress, just connection, just presence. Let this peaceful tradition lull you like the ocean's tide. Let your worries dissolve like the powdered kava root in water. Tonight, in this space of stillness and story, you are among friends. Drink deeply, not from a shell, but from quiet. Hand rest. 32. Shamanic soul retrieval. Siberian tribes. In the frost-bitten forests and vast tundra of Siberia, where the wind howls like spirits and the stars seem close enough to touch, ancient shamans practiced a ritual as old as memory, the soul retrieval. This was not a physical journey, but a spiritual one undertaken to bring back lost fragments of a person's soul. In Siberian belief, trauma, grief, would enter a trance aided by chanting and rhythm. Eyes closed, body still, their spirit traveled beyond the veil, through forests of shadow, rivers of memory, and skies lit by ancestral fire. Along the way, the shaman might meet animal guides, ancestral spirits, or otherworldly guardians. These encounters were not just visions, they were keys, clues, allies, in the sacred mission. When the missing soul part was found, the shaman gently coaxed it back, carrying it through invisible paths to the waking world. Once returned, the soul part was welcomed with ritual smoke, songs, and offerings. The person, now whole again, often described feeling lighter, more present, like a long-lost piece of music had returned to their inner symphony. Now, as you drift into sleep, imagine the drum beats slowing your breath. Feel the warmth of fire in a cold land. Picture your own spirit, whole and radiant, embraced by the silence of the stars. Tonight, nothing is missing. You are entirely here, entirely enough, entirely at peace. 33. Inkwala Kingship Ceremony, Swaziland. The low murmur of ancient chants in the night air, let the steady rhythm soothe your mind. You are safe. You are part of a story older than memory. Sleep now, as kings once slept, beneath stars that watched the first harvest. Let the spirit of the land rock you gently toward dream. 4. Etruscan augury by bird flight. Long before Rome rose with its marble and might, the Etruscans, mysterious people of ancient Italy, looked to the skies, not for gods of thunder, but for signs in feathers. Their sacred ritual of augury by bird flight was a quiet, reverent dialogue with the divine. Augurs, trained priests or seers, would rise before dawn and seek a high vantage point, often atop a temple or a grassy hill. With staff in hand, they marked a sacred space in the sky, an invisible grid drawn with intention. Then, they waited in perfect stillness, eyes trained toward the heavens. The appearance of a bird's species, the direction it flew, the way its wings moved, was read like scripture. A crow, flying from left to right, might signal misfortune. A hawk soaring overhead could mean divine favor. It was not superstition, but an act of attunement, listening to the natural world, its whispers, and recognizing that every movement has meaning. Important decisions, when to plant crops, when to go to war, even the founding of cities, were shaped by these readings. It was believed that the gods spoke through nature, and to ignore those messages was to invite chaos. This was not a hurried practice. The augur sat for hours, breathing with the wind, reading the sky like poetry. And in that space of silence, something shifted, not just in the clouds, but in the soul. Tonight, as you lay still, become the watcher of your own sky. Imagine birds gliding across a dawnlit horizon, their wings sketching gentle patterns of fate. Let your breath align with their smooth, steady, free. No need to read omens now. The message is clear. You are safe. You are held. Let your dreams fly where they will, guided by invisible winds toward peace. 35. Mitanni Star Ritual, Ancient Mesopotamia. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers once cradled mighty civilizations, the Mitanni people practiced a celestial ritual that reached beyond the earth and into the stars. This was the Mitanni Star Ritual, an ancient observance meant to align human fate with the constellations above. On nights when the sky was clear and moonlight soft, priests and astronomer seers would gather atop cigarette-stowering stepped temples, bringing with them sacred incense. bronze bowls of water, and scrolls etched with celestial knowledge. The ritual began with purification, not only of the body, but of the spirit. Water was poured over hands, faces, and feet, while ancient hymns drifted into the night. Then, facing northward, the eternal pole star, they would light fragrant resins whose smoke rose like dreams into the sky. The priests chanted the names of stars and planets, invoking their influence upon the realms of kings, crops, and kinship. Each constellation held a message, each alignment a warning or a blessing. Participants would sit in stillness as priests read from the heavens. The bull, rise of strength, shall come. The archer of fate's conflict shall ease. It was a night not of fortune-telling, but of harmony-seeking, communion between the rhythms of the cosmos and the hearts of those on earth. Now, as you close your eyes, picture yourself lying beneath a warm, starlit sky. Feel the ancient stones beneath you, the hush of midnight prayers surrounding you. Let your thoughts become soft as the drifting smoke, your heartbeat steady as the stars. In this moment, you are part of the universe's design, vast, beautiful, and wise. Let that comfort cradle you. Sleep now, guided by constellation. 36. Fire offering to Agni in the sacred lands of ancient India, where rivers glowed under moonlight and the air pulsed with chants. The Vedic people offered their prayers through a powerful, glowing ritual, the fire offering to Agni. This ancient ceremony was both a form of worship and a cosmic conversation with fire as the messenger. Agni, the fire god, was seen as the divine mouth carrying offerings from earth to the heavens. To speak with the gods, one must first speak through Agni. As twilight descended, Vedic priests, known as Hataris, gathered around the altar, a square mound built from river clay, marked with sacred symbols. They chanted hymns from the Rig Veda, a text older than memory. As clarified butter, ghee, was poured into the flames. Each flicker, each crackle was seen as a divine response. Alongside ghee, offerings of grains, wood, herbs, and sometimes milk or honey were cast into the fire, each symbolizing prosperity, peace, or divine guidance. But this wasn't just a priestly task. The entire community could gather, sitting in reverence, listening as the flames danced. Eyes softened in the warm glow, hearts stilled by the rhythm of mantra and flame. The fire did more than consumed, transformed. Smoke curled skyward, believed to carry hopes, wishes, and intentions to the divine realm. And in return, Agni offered clarity, purity, and light. As you settle into rest tonight, imagine the warmth of that sacred fire. Feel its gentle glow on your face. Hear the rhythmic chants weaving through the air like silk. Let that warmth melt away your worries. In the quiet flicker of imagined flames, find your peace. Sleep now, as prayers rise like smoke, calm, weightless. In 57. Heka rituals. In the ancient temples of Egypt, nestled along the life-giving Nile, magic wasn't fantasy. It was sacred science. This divine force was called Heka, and it was believed to be the spiritual energy that made all life possible. Through Heka, both gods and humans could influence the world around them, guiding destiny, healing the sick, and even preparing souls for the journey after death. Each temple in Egypt had priests trained in the sacred arts of Heka. These rituals were never casual. They were exact, rhythmic, and filled with intention. At dusk, when the light turned gold and shadows lengthened across the sandstone walls, the ritual would begin. A practitioner, clad in pristine linen, would wash in sacred water, anoint themselves with oils of blue lotus and myrrh, and light resin incense to cleanse the air. Papyrus scrolls containing ancient incantations were consulted. The words weren't simply read. They were activated through tone, breath, and rhythm. Symbols sacred to Thoth, Isis, and Ra were drawn into the air or onto soft clay tablets. Tools like wands, copper, knives, and amulets were placed with care on the altar, arranged with astrological precision. Heka rituals served many purposes: healing the sick, calling for rain, banishing bad dreams, or even offering gratitude to the gods. But most importantly, they were meant to restore harmony between the seen and unseen worlds. The practitioners believed that true power came not from force, but from balance, from knowing the right word at the right moment. Now, as you lie in bed, imagine that sacred chamber, dimly lit, the scent of frankincense curling in the air. The walls hum with old power. You feel the ancient rhythm in your heartbeat. No need to speak. You are heard. In the stillness of night, let ancient wisdom wrap around you like a soft, silken robe. Sleep now, wrapped in the magic of Let's explore some more. Number 38. Inuit Bladder Festival. In the frozen beauty of the Arctic, where snow covers the earth like a great silence and daylight comes and goes in long breaths, the Inuit people of Alaska and northern Canada once held a remarkable annual ritual, the Bladder Festival, or Nakachuk. This ceremony honored the spirits of the seals and other marine animals who had given their lives so that the people might live. To the Inuit, the soul of a seal resided in its bladder, not its heart. When a hunter caught a seal, the bladder was carefully removed, cleaned, and saved. Over the course of the winter, these sacred bladders were stored in sealskin bags, honored for the life they once carried. At the end of the season, during the darkest days of winter, the people gathered in snow-covered villages for the festival. The bladders were returned to the sea in a ceremony that blended reverence, gratitude, and a hope for future abundance. Drums pulsed softly, echoing like heartbeats through the icy air. Elders chanted, children danced, learning the rhythm of tradition. The act of returning the bladders wasn't just symbolic, it was spiritual. By giving the soul of the seal back to the water, the Inuit invited it to be reborn, to return in another form when the ice melted and the sun returned. 39. Kashina dances Hopi tribe. In the mesas of the American Southwest, where desert winds whisper stories through the canyons, the Hopi people have long held a sacred tradition known as the Kashina dances. These rituals are more than performances. They are prayers in motion, connecting the seen world with the spiritual forces that sustain life. Kashinas are spirit beings representing everything from ancestors to clouds, rain, animals, and even moral lessons. The Hopi believe these spirits visit their villages during certain times of the year, especially during planting and harvest seasons, to bless the people with health, fertility, and rain. During a Kashina ceremony, dancers, dressed in elaborate, colorful regalia, donned carefully crafted masks that embody the spirit they represent. The preparation itself is a ritual fasting, purification, and deep reverence for the role they will assume. As they enter the plaza, rhythmic drum beats begin, and the air thickens with expectation. The dances unfold slowly and deliberately, their footfalls echoing the heartbeat of the earth. Its feathers shimmer in the sun, and the scent of cornmeal and cedar fills the air. Each movement carries meaning and offering to the spirits, a request for rain, a celebration of harmony. For the Hopi, these ceremonies are also a time of teaching. Children watch and learn, internalizing the values and stories carried by the Kashinas. Gifts are often handed out to the young ones, reinforcing the cycle of generosity and care. Now, as you close your eyes, imagine sitting on warm stone under a setting sun. The sound of drums echoes across the desert. Figures move like dreams, rooted in earth, yet touched by the sky. This is a moment where spirit and soil meet. Sleep now, guided by the ancient rhythm of the Kashinas, K-Day of the Dead celebration. In the vibrant culture of Mexico, where life and death intertwine in a colorful tapestry, there is a celebration that transcends the boundaries of the grave. It is a time when the veil between the worlds is thinnest and the memories of loved ones come alive, dancing on the edge of remembrance. The Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, is more than a holiday. It is a profound acknowledgement of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. As the days shorten and the nights grow longer, families prepare for the arrival of spirits. Homes are adorned with marigolds, their petals forming a fragrant path leading to altars called ofrendas. These altars become shrines to the dead, displaying photographs, personal belongings, and most importantly, the favorite foods and drinks of the departed. Sugar skulls, adorned with colorful icing in the name of the deceased, take center stage, symbolizing both mortality and the sweetness of life. The celebration begins on November 1st with the arrival of the little angel skulls. On this day, children born on All Saints' Day are believed to be visited by their deceased relatives. They are welcomed with parties full of joy rather than sorrow. For the adults, the second day, November 2nd, is reserved for the spirits of those who have passed on. The entire day is dedicated to honoring and remembering them. Families gather at the gravesites of their loved ones, cleaning and decorating the tombs. The air is filled with music, laughter, and the aroma of food, creating an atmosphere of joyous remembrance. As dusk settles, the party moves indoors with a special meal in remembrance of the deceased. It is a feast of traditional Mexican dishes such as tamales, enchiladas, and pan de muerto, or bread of the dead. Food plays a central role in the Day of the Dead celebrations, bridging the gap between the living and the dead. Each dish prepared holds a special meaning, reminding the family of the deceased of the love and joy they brought into their lives. Sleep now, traveling along paths of marigolds where each step echoes with laughter and remembrance. May your dreams be filled with the warmth of family and the comforting belief that death is but a doorway to another round. Chant ritual, Tibetan Buddhism. In the high, wind-swept plateaus of Tibet, where silence stretches across snow-covered peaks and prayer flags flutter against the sky, lies one of the most profound and eerie spiritual practices in Tibetan Buddhism, the chant ritual. Pronounced shak, the word means to cut through, and that is exactly what this ritual seeks to do: cut through the ego, fear, and attachment. Chant is not a ritual for the faint of heart. Formed alone or in remote, haunted places, cemeteries, mountain caves, or ancient ruins, the practitioner invites the very things they fear most. I offer up their body, symbolically, as a feast to spirits, demons, and hungry ghosts, not out of submission, but as a path to liberation. The ceremony begins with chants and the beat of a damaru drum. A haunting melody from a kangling, a trumpet made from a human thigh bone, rises into the air. Its practitioner visualizes their body being transformed into divine nectar, an offering that dissolves all boundaries between self and other. Why such a graphic and intense visualization? To break attachment to the body, to identity, to fear. In doing so, the practitioner experiences the truth of impermanence and the boundless compassion that comes from facing one's deepest terrors without resistance. As the ritual unfolds, the boundaries between the physical and spiritual blur. The wind seems to carry whispers. The practitioner becomes light, free, no longer tethered by ego. As you rest now, imagine the crisp air of the Himalayas, the sound of chanting fading into the wind, and a fearless heart standing in peaceful stillness amid shadow. Sleep now with courage, quiet, and deep. Let your dreams carry you beyond fear. Let go. Be light. Rest easy in the space beyond self. 41. Pliny's moon milk, harvesting Roman folklore. In the writings of Pliny the Elder, the Roman naturalist and philosopher, we find curious mention of a substance known as moon milkachaki, white mineral that seeps from limestone caves, said to carry lunar energy. According to Roman folklore, this mineral wasn't just geologically, was mystical. It's harvested only during the full moon. Moon milk was believed to be a sacred substance, blessed by Diana, the moon goddess. Cloaked in white robes, herbalists or mystics would enter caves in silence. They brought silver bowls or marble jars, believing that metal aligned with lunar forces. Inside the cool, damp silence, moon milk dripped slowly from the stone walls, and each drop was collected with care. Rituals were often whispered over the bowl's prayers for healing, fertility, and insight. The collected substance was dried, powdered, and sometimes mixed with herbs or wine, was thought to heighten intuition, purify the body, and even soothe troubled dreams. Even more intriguing was the belief that moon milk responded to intention. If harvested with greed, it would curdle or vanish, but with reverence and calm, it would drip more freely. As you relax now, picture the moon high above a Roman hillside, casting silver light through leaves and over cave entrances. The earth feels ancient beneath your feet, okay? The silence in the cave hums like a forgotten song. In this quiet, healing space, time slows. Every droplet of moon milk glows softly like a star being born. Sleep now, gently washed in lunar light. 42. Bone-throwing divination Zulu in the vast open landscapes of southern Africa, beneath skies stretching endlessly in all directions. Zulu diviners, known as sangomas, have practiced this sacred art for centuries. Bone-throwing divination, known as Yukafansa and Mathumbo. This ritual connects the living with ancestral spirits and the wisdom they offer. The sangoma begins by entering a meditative state, often through rhythmic drumming, chanting, or inhaling herbal smoke. The bone sofen, a collection of shells, dice, small bones, coins, or carved figures, are kept in a special pouch. Each item has meaning, often representing ancestors, emotions, paths, obstacles, or spiritual forces. With focused breath, the sangoma casts the bones onto a mat or sacred cloth. The way they follow their orientation, distance from one another, and patterns form a map of insight. But this isn't random fortune-telling. It is a conversation. Teama listens deeply, interpreting not just the layout, but the energy of the moment. Each reading is tailored to the question asked, whether seeking guidance on health, relationships, lost items, or spiritual matters. The bones reveal what is hidden, what is healing, and what is to come. The diviner may then prescribe herbal remedies, protective charms, or specific actions to restore balance. Bone throwing is both a science and a spiritual art, passed down through generations, requiring years of training and ancestral calling. It is about listening to the bones, the spirits, and the silence in between. Now, as you lie in stillness, imagine the soft clatter of sacred bones on woven mats, the scent of incense, and the low hum of ancient chants. The night listens with you. Sleep now, guided by ancestral whispers and the wisdom of the bones. 43. Kukeri Festival, Bulgaria. In the snow-dusted villages of Bulgaria, just as winter begins to loosen its icy grip, a wondrous transformation occurs. The Kukeri Festival comes to life, a centuries-old ritual meant to drive away evil spirits and awaken the earth for spring. It is not merely a performance, but a powerful act of communal magic, steeped in ancestral memory and wild beauty. Participants, known as Kukeri, wear elaborate costumes made of wool, feathers, fur, and colorful threads. Most striking of all are their masks, grotesque and magnificent, crafted to resemble beasts, demons, or mythical beings. Some masks are cheerful, others terrifying. Each serves a purpose: to confuse, frighten, or lure away misfortune. With cowbells strapped around their waists and wooden swords or batons in hand, the Kukeri parade through villages, dancing, jumping, and shaking their bells in rhythmic chaos. The sound is deafening and joyous, like thunder awakening the ground. The villagers laugh and cheer, offering food and drink and receiving blessings in return. The ritual is deeply symbolic. By wearing masks and disguises, the Kukeri bridge worlds, the human and the divine, the present and the ancestral. They become protectors and storytellers, reminding all who watch that chaos is necessary for rebirth. Now, imagine drifting into sleep as soft snow falls outside. Bells echo gently in the distance, fading like dreams. Bright colors swirl behind your eyelids, and the cold is chased away by laughter and fire. Sleep now, held safe by the guardians in their wool and feathers. Let the joy of the dance carry you into rest. 4. Umbanda, spirit possession, Brazil. In the vibrant heart of Brazil, where African, indigenous, and European cultures weave into one spiritual tapestry, there thrives a religion, both mystical and compassionate, Umbanda. Central to its practice is spirit possession, a ritual in which mediums become vessels for divine guidance and healing. In candlelit temples filled with incense and the soft rhythm of drums, practitioners dressed in white garments begin to sing. The air is charged with reverence and joy. One by one, mediums begin to sway, their movements gentle and trance-like. Spirits are invited, not with fear, but with love. The spirits that come through are known as entidades, often benevolent figures such as old wise men, pretos, velos, indigenous guides, caboclos, or joyful tricksters, exiles. Each carries its own style, wisdom, and energy. When a spirit enters, the medium's posture shifts. Their voice may change. They may offer advice, healing touch, or simply comfort. His possession is not chaotic. It is serene, controlled, and always intended for good. Participants often feel uplifted, comforted, or understood in ways that words alone cannot explain. Umbanda teaches that all spirits were once human, evolving through lifetimes. Its continued connection with the living helps both sides grow. Mediumship, then, is a sacred act of love across realms. Now, close your eyes and feel the soft glow of candles around you. The drumming becomes a heartbeat. A gentle presence stands beside you, not frightening, but warm. They smile as if they've known you forever. Sleep now in the arms of spirit and song. You are never alone, only deeply, deeply loved. 45s. Guide celebration, Haitian Voodoo. As October melts into November and the veil between worlds grows thin, the people of Haiti gather in joyful reverence for the Guide celebration, a vibrant Voodoo ritual that honors the spirits of the dead. It's a time not of mourning, but of laughter, rhythm, and communion with the unseen. The Guide spirits, led by the trickster-like Baron Samedi and his wife, Maman Brigitte, are guardians of the graveyard and gatekeepers between life and death. They are mischievous, yet wise, humorous, but deeply protective. To celebrate them is to honor those who've passed on while embracing life's mystery with open arms. During the festival, devotees wear black, purple, and white colors of the dead and paint their faces like skulls. Music fills the air with drums echoing into the night and dancers moving in trance-like states. Offerings of rum, hot peppers, cigars, and sweets are made at altars, placed lovingly beside photos of ancestors. Possession is welcomed, even invited. When the Guide spirits arrive, they speak through the bodies of mediums, often with bold jokes and profound truths. They dance wildly, laugh loudly, and bless those who seek healing or wisdom. This celebration is not limited to cemeteries. It flows through Voodoo temples and homes alike, where altars flicker with candles and families gather to share food, memory, and prayer. The air hums with sacred rhythm, and the boundary between life and death blurs into warmth and understanding. Now, as you lie quietly, imagine flickering candlelight, laughter carried on the wind, and the smell of rum and flowers. The spirits gather gently, not to frighten, but to protect. They smile at you, knowing your ancestors stand close. Sleep now, wrapped in rhythm and remembrance. Let the Guide guard your dreams with joy and ancient mirth. The dance continues in your dream. 36. Tree marriages. In India, where trees are revered as sacred life forms and guardians of the earth, there exists a unique and deeply symbolic ritual known as the tree marriage. This ancient practice is both astrological and spiritual, where a person, usually a woman, is symbolically wed to a tree. It is more than folklore. It's a testament to humanity's bond with nature and cosmic order. One common reason for this ritual is the astrological condition known as the Manglik dosha, which suggests an imbalance in a person's horoscope that could cause turbulence in marriage. To offset this, a symbolic marriage to a triophene, a banana, peepal, or banyan tree is performed. A tree is believed to absorb the misfortune, acting as a cosmic cleanser. Afterward, it may be ritually felled, and the person is free to marry a human partner without fear of bad luck. However, in many tribal and rural areas, tree marriages take on a more reverent tone. They serve as a tribute to the oldest trees in a forest, those considered ancestral spirits or wise elders. Dressed in garlands, painted with vermilion, and anointed with sacred water, the tree becomes the groom or bride. Songs are sung, vows are spoken, and the air is filled with the scent of flowers and incense. These ceremonies remind us of an age when humans treated trees as sentient beings, not just wood, but watchers, protectors, and quiet companions to life. In marrying a tree, one binds themselves to the wisdom and endurance of nature. Now, picture a forest grove at twilight. It's moonlight dripping through thick leaves. You stand before an ancient tree draped in silk. Its chants echo through the woods, slow and melodic. Sleep now, embraced by the stillness of the bark and the stars. Let the forest hold your dreams in leafy arms. 7. Night Vigil of the Dead, Sardinia. In the heart of the Mediterranean, on the Italian island of Sardinia, there exists a sacred tradition known as the Night Vigil of the Dead, rooted in ancient pagan beliefs and later absorbed into Christian observance. This ritual unfolds quietly each year at the start of November. Families gather to honor their ancestors in a ceremony that blurs the lines between the living and the departed. The ritual typically begins on the evening of November 1st. Candles are lit in windows and at gravesites, gently illuminating the night with a warm, golden glow. In many villages, it is believed that the spirits of the dead return home during this time. To welcome them, Sardinians prepare meals of traditional food-softened sweets, breads, and wine, and leave them out on tables or near hearths overnight. These offerings are not only for remembrance, but to nourish the souls of the departed. Children sometimes go from house to house receiving treats, not unlike Halloween, but the emphasis is softer, quieter, more reverent than festive. In some areas, empty chairs are left at dinner tables or beds prepared for visiting spirits. Whisper prayers, folk songs, and long silences fill the evening as families remember those who came before them. This vigil is not a time of sadness, but a serene reunion between worlds. The dead are not feared, but welcomed, honored as part of the eternal cycle. The stillness of the night becomes sacred space where memories walk again. Now, imagine the glow of lanterns in narrow stone alleys, the soft clinking of dishes, the hush of voices remembering names long past. You feel their presence, gentle, familiar, kind. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts drift to those who once walked beside you. Sleep now, surrounded by the quiet love of generations past. 48. Oracle of Dodona, Ancient Greece. Before the famed Oracle of Delphi, there was another more ancient, more primal, the Oracle of Dodona, nestled in the oak forest of Epirus in northwestern Greece. It was here that pilgrims journeyed, not to gaze into smoke or mirrors, but to listen to the rustle of sacred leaves, the calls of birds, and the whispers of wind through boughs. The ritual at Dodona was simple in form, but profound in spirit. Seekers would come with questions about war, marriage, harvest, and present them to the priests, and priestesses of Zeus and Dione. These oracles would listen closely to the sounds of nature, the rustling of the leaves in the sacred oak tree, the flight patterns of doves, or even the clang of bronze vessels suspended from trees. Unlike more theatrical oracles, the divinations at Dodona were intimate and grounded. It was believed that Zeus himself spoke through the elements, his voice carried on the wind, his wisdom vibrating in the trembling leaves. Pilgrims would wait in silence, letting the earth speak, letting time soften their doubts. The oak tree, central to the ritual, was not just a tree. It was a living bridge between heaven and earth. It had stood for generations, its roots deep in myth, its branches brushing the divine. Sitting beneath it, one was said to feel clarity, as though the universe itself had drawn close to whisper. Now, imagine lying under a vast oak canopy, the sun fading above, the leaves stirring softly like lullabies. The earth hums with ancient presence, and the wind carries words too old to be spoken. Let that wind sweep gently through your mind. Let the rustling leaves sing you to sleep. Tide, the gods speak only peace. 9. Yoruba, divination, West Africa. In the sacred traditions of the Yoruba people of West Africa, the divination ritual connects humans with the divine wisdom of Orunmila, the deity of knowledge and destiny. This ancient practice, still widely honored in Nigeria, Benin, and parts of the diaspora, guides people in making decisions, healing wounds, and aligning with their life path. The ritual begins with the presence of a Babalawo, a trained priest who serves as an intermediary between the human and spiritual realms, using sacred tools like palm nuts or a divination chain called opal. The Babalawo casts patterns that correspond to one of 256 Odu cosmic verses that contain stories, wisdom, and parables. Each Odu is rich with insight, carrying lessons from the past to illuminate the present. The process is both mathematical and mystical. The patterns are read, interpreted, and spoken aloud, often with chants, songs, or proverbs. The words are not just predictions, they are guidance, often calling for offerings or behavioral changes to bring harmony back into one's life. What makes divination so enduring is its deep reverence for balance and destiny. It teaches that every soul has a purpose, and that alignment with the divine order leads to peace and fulfillment. Now, close your eyes and imagine sitting beneath a thatched roof, warm earth beneath your feet, the air thick with incense. The Babalawo murmurs ancient verses as palm nuts click softly in his hands. Time slows. You are no longer lost. Feel the rhythm of the opal. Feel your path becoming clear. Sleep now, trusting the wisdom of ancestors. Let destiny cradle your dreams in the hush of Orunmila song. 50. Fire Festival, a Beltane Celtic tradition. As spring ripens into early summer, the ancient Celts celebrated Beltane, a fire festival of fertility, protection, and the joyous union of opposites, observed around May 1st. Beltane marked the halfway point between the spring equinox and summer. It's a solstice, a liminal moment when the veil between worlds grew thin and magic shimmered in the air. At the heart of the ritual were great bonfires, lit atop hills and in village greens. People would walk between twin fires or drive their livestock through the smoke, believing it purified and blessed them. Sparks danced like fire spirits, and flames reached for the stars, connecting the earthly to the divine. Couples would leap over flames hand in hand, seeking luck in love and fertility. The maypole, adorned with ribbons, served as a symbol of union, sun and earth, masculine and feminine, sky and soil. Dancers wove around it in spirals, mimicking the sacred dance of the cosmos. Offerings were left for fairies and nature spirits, bowls of cream, honey, or bread placed near sacred trees and wells. At dawn, women would wash their faces in Beltane dew, believed to bring beauty and renewal. The fire burned all night, keeping darkness at bay and ushering in the light of the growing season. It was a time of hope, community, and deep connection to the rhythms of the land. Now, picture the fire's glow flickering on faces, laughter echoing under stars, and soft grass beneath your feet. The night is warm, alive with ancient joy. Sleep now, wrapped in Beltane's embrace. Let firelight guard your rest, and may spring's magic bloom gently in your dream. 51. Ayahuasca Vision, Ritual, Amazon Basin. Deep within the lush rainforests of the Amazon, indigenous tribes have long used a powerful brew called ayahuasca for healing, vision, and communion with the spirit world. This sacred drink is made by combining two plants, the Banister upsis, caapi vine, and the leaves of the chacaruna shrub, creating a psychoactive infusion that unlocks vivid inner journeys. The ritual is usually led by a shaman or curandero, who prepares the brew and guides participants through the intense experience. The setting is sacred, a quiet, candlelit hut surrounded by a jungle, with chants known as ikarus echoing through the night. As the brew takes hold, participants may see visions, relive memories, or encounter spirit guides. Ayahuasca is not recreational. It's a deeply spiritual medicine. The visions are believed to reveal emotional wounds, spiritual truths, and paths to healing. Purging, often through vomiting, is considered part of the cleansing. Now, imagine yourself lying beneath a thatched roof as jungle sounds surround you. The shaman's voice floats through the air like smoke. The world shifts, and your mind opens like a flower. Sleep now, cradled by the rainforest and wrapped in ancient wisdom. Let the visions flow softly into your dreams. 52. Sacred Geese Oracle, Rome. In ancient Rome, where gods walked among men in story and statue, even geese could serve as oracles. The sacred geese of Juno, kept at the temple of Juno on the Capitoline Hill, were believed to possess divine warning powers. According to legend, when the Gauls attempted to invade Rome in 390 BCE, it was the honking of these geese that alerted the Romans to danger in the dead of night, saving the city from certain doom. From that point on, the geese were treated with reverence. Their behavior watched closely for signs from the gods. During certain rituals and ceremonies, the priests would observe the geese's actions, whether they were calm or agitated, silent or vocal. Their movements were thought to reflect the will of Juno herself. In a city rich with augury and divination, these feathered seers held a special place. Now, picture the quiet temple grounds bathed in moonlight, feathers glowing softly in the stillness. A goose lifts its head, sensing something unseen. The city sleeps, but the spirits remain watchful. Sleep now, beneath marble skies and ancient echoes. Let the gentle rustle of wings guard your dreams with silent vigilance. 53 Sami drum divination, Scandinavia. In the icy expanse of northern Scandinavia, the Sami people, an indigenous group with ancient shamanic traditions, used drums not just as instruments, but as tools for divination. The Sami drum, or gavdis, was more than a musical object. It was a sacred map of the universe, crafted from reindeer hide, stretched over a wooden frame. The drum was painted with symbols representing animals, deities, nature, and spiritual realms. During rituals, the Sami, Noadi, shaman, would strike the drum rhythmically while guiding a small pointer, often a ring of bone or metal, across the drum's surface. The movement of the pointer, influenced by the vibrations of the drum, was interpreted as messages from spirits or ancestors. It was used to answer questions, locate lost objects, or diagnose illnesses. This ritual was a bridge between the physical and spirit worlds. Kana. As you imagine snow falling softly outside a firelit tent, the beat of the drum echoes into the still night. The pointer dances over sacred symbols, and your question drifts into the spirit world. Sleep now, rocked by rhythm and intuition. Let the ancient drum beats guide your dreams into the deep northern silence. 54. Spirit spouses, various African traditions. In some African spiritual systems, individuals may marry a spirit in dreams or rituals. These spirit spouses offer protection, insight, and power, though they can also demand loyalty. Such unions maintain spiritual harmony and reflect the deep integration of unseen worlds into everyday life. These spiritual marriages often come with visions, signs, and even physical sensations during ceremonies or sleep. The presence of a spirit spouse is believed to guide life decisions, attract prosperity, and ward off misfortune. They are treated with reverence, receiving offerings and attention as one would a real-life partner. A bond is both mystical and intimate, blending the spiritual with the personal. 55. Festival of Perun, Slavic paganism. Celebrating the thunder god Perun, this ancient Slavic festival honored storms, fire, and masculine force. Rituals included bonfires, songs, and offerings beneath sacred oak trees. Participants sought strength, protection, and fertility, dancing into the night to echo the rumble of Perun's mighty skybound chariot. Warriors would paint their faces, young couples leaped over flames for luck, and entire villages chanted in unison to summon Perun's blessing. The roaring fires and rhythmic drum beats were believed to awaken the god's presence in the sky, forging a powerful connection between earth and heavens.